Did you know? Fallout New Vegas has what you could call a quote-unquote official path to beat the game. Not one written in stone, but pieced together from the strategy guide, developer commentary, and even the way the game quietly pushes your build, your quests, and your allies towards a single direction and inevitable end. From the very first minutes in Doc Mitchell's house where your skills are shaped to suit certain dialogue checks, to the tour of the Mojave that naturally steers you through NCR territory, there is a common thread. A path that was meant to be walked, at least for your very first playthrough, so you don't get totally eviscerated for accidentally wandering down Highway 95. So forget that low intelligence build where your character miraculously stumbles their way through the desert in search of a succulent Chinese meal.
This is a restricted area. State your business. I can't tell whether you're joking or radiation melted part of your brain, but either way, I don't see a good reason to let you through.
Because in today's video, we'll be exploring the true route Obsidian intended for the courier and why it just might be the definitive story of Fallout New Vegas.
And my skin is not glowing all day.
The story of Fallout New Vegas doesn't begin with choice. It begins with inevitability. You're shot in the head, buried in the dirt, and left to die. But you don't. And this is where the game's hidden logic begins to guide you. First awakening in Doc Mitchell's house sans bullet in the head, you're given a plethora of initial options to shape your character. Now, bear in mind this isn't an exact science. The game specifically doesn't establish a definitive gender for the courier in canon or other materials, leaving it open to player interpretation. Although early promotional material for Fallout New Vegas showed a male courier with blonde hair, which generally aligns with the default character look, which suits us fine. From the very first perk and skill allocation, the game funnels you towards a very specific courier. Not a stealth assassin, not a melee brute, a generalist, a survivor with enough guns to handle early powder gangers, enough speech and barter to unlock the first dialogue checks, and a special spread wide enough to touch every part of the Mojave. The Prima Guide mirrors this logic. Its character archetypes gesture at many playstyles, but the Mojave itself tells a different story. From the first steps outside Goodsprings, the game isn't just nudging you, it's channeling you into a courier who lives on guns, repair, and speech. And these are not coincidences, they're scaffolding. It's the archetype that is baked into the game's design. And that's why we're choosing the following stats, tagging guns, repair, and speech with good-natured as our defining trait. Now this spread may seem less badass courier and more tired mailman, and admittedly, it won't cover every single scenario that's thrown at you, but that's the beauty of an RPG. Sometimes you'll naturally earmark opportunities that can be explored later. But for this run, these are the stats that unlock the intended courier's path to a T, which becomes clearer as we explore the wastes. Speaking of paths, it's time to step out into the Mojave.
Here, these are yours. Was all you had on you when you was brought in. I hope you don't mind, but I gave the note a look. I thought it might help me find a next of kin. But it was just something about a platinum chip.
Exiting Doc Mitchell's into the light of Goodsprings, it's clear. This town is designed to teach, not tempt. But what do I mean by that? Well, Sonny Smiles places a varmint rifle in your hand.
Now, see the sarsaparilla bottles on the fence there? Take this and try to hit a couple of them.
A not-so-subtle push towards guns.
Nice shot.
But why? Well, right beside her is something brand new to Fallout, the reloading bench. Introduced in New Vegas, this feature lets players break down and convert ammunition, turning junk rounds into something useful. Obsidian didn't add it as some gimmick, they wanted to foster it. To make gathering ammo, tinkering with it, and keeping your guns alive with repair into a core game loop. From the very first tutorial, they're showing you guns and repair aren't just optional, they're the backbone of the courier. Then comes your first moral choice, Ringo's standoff with the powder gangers. Do you help the town or betray it? But is it really a choice? The powder gangers are designed as disposable thugs, their arcs sputtering out after the opening hours. Goodsprings, on the other hand, embodies law, order, and community, the very values of the New California Republic. Aligning with them is the obvious, almost unavoidable step, which will make sense soon, as whether or not you realize that siding with Goodsprings isn't just a moral choice, it's the intended one. And in putting the first nail in the Powder Ganger's coffin, you also set the courier on a path of good karma, which is also a backbone of this playthrough. And through it all, there's of course Victor, the nagging cowboy robot who just so happened to dig you out of your grave. Too convenient to be luck, and too persistent to be dismissed.
Howdy, partner. Might I say you're looking fit as a fiddle?
He lingers in town watching and reminding you that from the moment you opened your eyes, you've been on rails towards something bigger, just over the mountains in New Vegas' strip. With vengeance rekindled in your chest, we know Benny is out there, and the skyline of New Vegas beckons on the horizon. As such, as you leave Goodsprings, the tutorial ends. 3 notorious paths then open up, stretching towards the infamous strip. Veterans, of course, know which one to choose, but the truth is simple. Difficulty scaling. The developers have clearly walled off some paths across the Mojave and left others open. And although the guide tells us where to go, the game does a brilliant job of telling us which paths to avoid. For example, the Prima guide heavily suggests heading down to Prim. This route is also baked hard into the design. If we head north towards the I-215, the developers have left not so subtle roadblocks urging you to rethink your route. Why? Well, you'll soon encounter a strange nest protruding from the ridge, a sign of deadly cazadors that can fell a man with a swift sting or two. If you accidentally stumble northeast towards the far more treacherous I-15, a small mining settlement of Sloan holds a similar warning, blocking your path, and even a resident NPC who urges you to rethink your actions.
Hold up. There are death claws all over the damn place north of here. I'd turn back if I were you. If you want to get to New Vegas, you're better off heading east from Prim and then looping north. It's a heck of a lot safer.
Of course, you could simply try and beeline it for the strip. It is possible, but you'll probably get your flesh stripped from your bones lickety-split by a pack of death claws. Clearly, the guide and the game itself is pushing you to the east, which we shall dutifully follow as the reasons are manifold. For one, back at the saloon, we'd learned the man in the checkered coat and the great Khans who oversaw your botched execution were heading east via the I-93, what with the dangers north, which means we may be able to catch their trail. But the road east through Prim is somewhat open. It's the safest path, the designed path to follow your killers. And honestly, the clues to tracking your attackers via quests and dialogue are breadcrumbed beautifully. But first, it should be noted, you are introduced in tandem to the idea of restoring order as you make your way through. The NCR is already present, and as you see their mark even on the horizon, when attempting to enter the town, you're tasked with liberating Prim from the local convicts. Now, you could wear the garb of the Powder Gangers and simply swagger up to Prim as discussed previously, but you'll soon learn the long arm of the law is here to keep this loop of the highway safe, and will put you down like a rabid coyote. The kicker here is that you'll find the courier office that originally dispatched you and learn that the strange cowboy robot Victor was responsible for your hiring and subsequent strife.
That cowboy robot had us hire 6 couriers. Each was carrying something a little different. Pair of dice, chess piece, that kind of stuff.
Plus, to sweeten the deal on aiding the NCR, the only person who knows where your assailants went is one Deputy Beagle held by the convicts. And if you want information, you better bolster that good karma run by clearing out the town, not siding with the convicts and rescuing the deputy, as restoring law and order, and as a reward for your heroic deeds, learn that the man in the checkered jacket and Khans headed to Novak via Nipton, and you must follow them with a promise of more information to come.
They were talking about some delivery they took from a courier. I assume that was you? They said they'd be heading through Nipton to Novak to meet a contact there.
Continuing along the highway, you'll be forced to confront other convicts and other lawless raider vermin infesting the road. Now, remember when I said the Powder Gangers were just a stepping stone to a greater narrative? Well, no better is this outlined than when reaching Nipton, and with it, the game's sharpest lesson. As you enter the town, a shirtless powder ganger can be seen cheering and even flipping off the settlement that is burning. Before you have time to look around, he excitedly approaches to gloat.
Yeah! Who won the lottery? I did! Smell that air! Couldn't you just drink it like booze?
Asking him about his powder ganger affiliation, he further maniacally muses.
Powder ganger? What? I mean, yeah, used to be, sure. But not no more. Powder gang is small time, man. I'm a winner! I won the motherfucking lottery!
Bye.
Before jovially jogging into the wastes, you'll then see various heads impaled on spikes and the town burn. The ganger's elation adds to growing confusion. It's only when you round the corner do you witness more horrors, as powder gangers have been crucified en masse, and a contingent of unknown peoples loiter on Nipton's hall steps. Ducking into the general store to sidestep these fiends, you can find a lone man sitting in the dark named Boxcars, who angrily exclaims,
God damn it! I was nodding off until you barged in here, and I don't hurt when I sleep. Just give me some goddamn Med-X and fuck off, will you?
He then further enlightens about the town's predicament.
The Legion happened. What the fuck's it look like? Luck, that's how. You're looking at the second place winner of the Nipton lottery. That asshole Swanick took first place. So him they let walk. It ain't like we came to Nipton to play it. Me and my crew had it worked out to kidnap some NCR troopers who come to town to get laid. Had it all worked out with the scumbag mayor. We were gonna ransom them off, keep their weapons for ourselves, a nice score. We get in position, and next thing we know, we're surrounded by those fucking Legion freaks. They dragged us and everybody else into the center of town. And that asshole with a dog on his head, he starts talking about how we're bad people. He said we needed to be punished for what we did. Not all of us, but some of us. And then he gives everyone a fucking lottery ticket. First up was the lucky losers. They got decapitated. Guess that's lucky cause it's pretty quick. Then came the crucifixions. God damn, but those went on and on and on. Third place runners-up got enslaved. I got the fuck beat out of my legs, and the winner, they let go free. Prize for second place was I got to live, but they beat my fucking legs with hammers. I'm fucking crippled, get it?
Leaving Boxcars with a few Med-X for his smashed up legs and good karma, you then approach the man with the dog hat, who calmly explains.
Don't worry. I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates. It's useful that you happen by. I want you to witness the fate of the town of Nipton, to memorize every detail. And then, when you move on, I want you to teach everyone you meet the lesson that Caesar's Legion taught here, especially any NCR troops you run across.
The Legion, a town burned, people enslaved, and executed in a lottery of cruelty. Now, you could attack these Legion members outright, but the game clearly has the thugs be in overwhelming force. The game also forces you to see the Legion as not an abstract ideology, but as a living nightmare at this moment. Nipton exists as a contrast. If Goodsprings and Prim show you the hope of rebuilding civilization, Nipton shows you the horror of tearing it down. To further illustrate the point, you're not meant to face the Legion yet. You'll even get a quest where you're expected to run and tell the NCR back at the outpost about the Legion spreading.
Coming from the north? Must be crazy to brave those roads. What? There's no way. We're miles from the Colorado. They aren't even waiting for the dam to fall. They're already inside the borders. We'll never stop them. Not at this rate. We're doomed.
So now, knowing you need to move on to find those who attacked you, the plot thickens as you're caught between two warring factions in the Mojave, representing order and chaos respectively. Now, understandably, the game design hasn't angled you towards siding with the latter, at least for your first run, and that taking the Legion head-on is not the expected path or anywhere near the wisest choice. Even the road looping back to Novak, you'll witness open skirmishes between the NCR and Legion troops lying in wait, in which you can take a step back for the moment. Amidst the battleground stands Ranger Station Charlie. Now, this doesn't make much of a dent narrative or quest-wise, but for me, it was actually an incredible revelation this playthrough. Once inside, Comm Officer Stepanak elucidates on the function of the NCR Rangers in the Mojave.
The Rangers mostly draw from the basic NCR army. A trooper who shows exceptional skill at fighting and scouting can be nominated for the training. Couple dozen, I'd say, most of them posted at stations like this one. We either man the station or patrol the immediate area.
It is at this moment I realized A, how badass the Rangers are basically solo policing the Mojave, and B, Obsidian is clearly laying on thick the pro-NCR propaganda for your first intended run, colouring how you view the faction. Kinda like how I found out the first two Iron Man movies had to deal with the American military to show the army in a positive light, and once you see it, you can't unsee it.
I think I'll take it.
Which one?
All of it.
Now, maybe I'm late to the party, but when I think back to New Vegas's trailers with Rangers murking raiders, hell, even the intro screen is the visage of the mysterious helmed Ranger in arguably some of the most badass armor in the game. I think it goes without question, the murdering, freedom-hating, Roman cosplaying Legion is perhaps for a later playthrough. The road leads north to Novak. Here the courier isn't just nudged. They're rooted. The town itself leads NCR, and the quests push you further into the role of the pragmatic, gun-carrying, order-seeking courier the game has been sculpting you into since you woke up in Doc Mitchell's bed. Speaking of Doc Mitchell, the robot responsible for your resurrection, Victor, just so happens to be out front in Novak to greet you.
Well, butter my butt and call me a biscuit if it ain't my old friend from Good Springs.
Ominously, leading you ever closer to the strip. But for what purpose? Asking around town for clues on your would-be killer's trail, you'll meet Novak's daytime sniper perched in the dino head Manny Vargas.
What's going on, man?
In which you can tell him you're hunting the man in the checkered coat.
Doesn't surprise me. The guy seemed like he'd do whatever it takes to get what he wants. Probably makes a lot of enemies. Well, listen, I can definitely help you find him, but I've got problems of my own.
Now you can choose to do his questline, or there are more direct workarounds such as searching Manny's computer terminal, where you can learn that Manny is an ex-con and gave his brothers refuge when they came through town, and that the man named Benny in the checkered suit was with them. What's more, they're headed up the highway to Boulder City. Now you could simply make a beeline for Boulder to intercept them, but seeing how we want to follow the Prima guide, it tells you to seek out Novak's nighttime sniper in the dino head, Boone.
God damn it. Don't sneak up on me like that. What do you want?
It's here you learn of Boone's tragic backstory, as the town he protects has sold out his wife to Legion slavers.
My wife was taken from our home by Legion slavers one night while I was on watch. They knew when to come and what route to take, and they only took Carla. Someone set it up. I don't know who.
Though thankfully he can get some form of justice against his wife's betrayer. One Jeannie Mae Crawford who can lead out in front of the dino head, and he'll showcase his sniping skills.
I hope you're finding everything to your liking.
He will then opt to join you in hunting down legionaries in the area and can spot them in the dark with his spotter perk.
Don't see much point in anything right now, except hunting legionaries. Maybe I'll wander. Like you.
Then it should also quickly be noted, Boone, a bitter companion, is the first true ally with ties to the NCR. Although admittedly Boone isn't the first companion you can technically pick up on your playthrough. Let me explain. Back in Prim is an EDE Eyebot, or Eddie, that if you have a high enough science or repair, being a repair skill of 65 with subsequent repair skill of 35, you can activate it and it will become your first companion. However, the requirements are high, and there is a clear barrier to collecting said Eyebot. However, the Prima Guide directly states you should partner Boone with Eddie for enhanced spotter perks. Funnily enough, the third option to repair the Eyebot requires 3 pieces of scrap metal, 2 sensor modules, and 1 bundle of scrap electronics. Now, we could have found it back in the Lone Wolf radio station near Prim, though a lot of people will miss this. But in this case, if you did miss out, Novak handily survives on scrap, and the parts are sitting out front of the gas station, which means you can loop back and get Eddie and Boone as partners. And now, the scum scavenging the wastes have officially been put on notice. Heading down the highway, by the time you reach Boulder City, the illusion of choice cracks open for the first time. Meeting the NCR out front, there's a tense hostage situation between the NCR and the Great Khans. And of course, we will be opting for the NCR side.
Once the Great Khans have been killed or captured, you're welcome to retrieve any property they've taken from you.
And this is the key here. Now, you can talk down the Great Khans or you can shoot, but the key here is you can succeed in dialogue. If you follow the intended courier build, speech and guns, you're rewarded here. You don't need to fight, and you can solve your problems like a diplomat backed by firepower.
I can't believe I'm doing this. Alright, the hostages can go. The NCR had better keep their end of the deal, though. Here, a souvenir for you. It's Benny's lighter. Shove it up his ass when you catch up with him.
Plus, the Khans, if you let them survive, will give you a souvenir to give back to Benny, who's escaped to the Strip. As you can see, the game has been setting this path up all along, and we finally become favoured by the NCR, as they become official allies, and all of our questing has finally paid off.
The Great Khans are free to go.
However, now, over the horizon, the Strip and Benny beckons.
Fancy meeting you here, friend. Fancy Pants? No, I ain't seen hide and a hair of him since the tussle in Good Springs. I'm sure he ran back to the soft living of New Vegas, though.
The game has been setting this up all along, and finally, it pays off. As over the horizon, the Strip and Benny beckons. And with lighter in hand, as you make your way to the tops, the confrontation finally begins.
What in the goddamn? Let's keep this in the groove, hey? Smooth moves like smooth little babies.
After taking care of Benny, however you please, Mr. House then awaits. The NCR also awaits, and the intended courier, the one you've been shaped into from the beginning, has arrived exactly where the logic of the game wants them. However, admittedly, this is where the game branches into its specific endings. Of course, there seems to be a preferred ending for the first time at least, as interestingly, when it comes to which 4 factions endings you should follow, the NCR is listed first in every faction breakdown. Now, this admittedly isn't an exact science, nor can we confirm which ending is canon, as there is none listed per se. However, for a first-time playthrough, this order matches the walkthrough's presentation and reinforces the NCR as the default lens, as the main walkthrough section uses the NCR quest line as its spine, with the other factions' steps are often presented as deviations or alternatives. NCR territory is detailed first in the Tour of the Mojave section of the Prima Guide, and even in side quest integration, NCR-friendly locations and allies come up first, with an NCR run having the most quests in-game. But why not the others? Well, Mr. House quests require bypassing NCR areas and heading to the Strip sooner, which is riskier for lower levels. The guide frames him more as a mid-game pivot option. Kaiser's legions know better, as reaching the fort involves crossing heavily hostile territory early, and many of the Legion quests assume you've already learned about them via NCR-related missions. And of course, there is the wild card. Yes, man. Obviously, this is off the beaten path and treated as a wildcard or backup route, as it's only detailed later in both the guide and the game flow, so it goes without saying, at least for your first playthrough, the NCR seems to be the intended faction to reign over the Mojave, with good karma for the courier, who aids in spreading their special brand of wasteland justice. Let me know your preferred faction in the comments below, and of course like and subscribe to stay up to date with more Dark Lore.
Can't keep the courier spirit down, eh? Fair enough. We'll clean up here. Kind of curious how this is going to pan out in the long run, but I guess history will tell us in its own sweet time.
And so the courier who had cheated death in the cemetery outside Good Springs cheated death once again, and the Mojave Wasteland was forever changed. The New California Republic celebrated its second victory at Hoover Dam, establishing definitive control over the entire Mojave Wasteland. Soon after, they negotiated terms to annex the Strip, Freeside, and many surrounding communities. The Mojave Wasteland, at long last, had entirely fallen under the NCR's banner. The courier, fair and even-handed in his dealings throughout the wasteland, was honored by the NCR for his support of the military at Hoover Dam. He was presented with the Golden Branch, the highest civilian decoration given by the Republic.